Hello and welcome to Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park. My name is Ranger Amanda and today I'm coming to you from the Parks Museum, and I'm actually in the back section of the museum near the park's exit, or the museum's exit. Directly behind me is a text panel of the 36-star United States flag. So it has the blue canton with 36 white stars and of course the red and white stripes. Now today's program we're going to talk a little bit about inventors. Now when you think about inventors, you might think about Benjamin Franklin or Alexander Graham Bell or even Eli Whitney. Now Eli Whitney of course created the cotton gin, which would continue slavery. So that actually had a huge negative impact on our history and on our society, even though that wasn't his original plan. Other items we still use today, even though they were created and thought up of many years ago, hundreds of years ago, and they still impact how we live in today's society. Now, one of the people that I want to talk to you about today is in honor of African American History Month, and this is a gentleman by the name of Lewis Latimer. Now, Mr. Latimer is very important because he helps keep the lights on, and a lot of his ideas and inventions are dealing with electricity and the use of light bulbs, so it's something to keep in mind as we learn a little bit about this unknown figure. Now, Lewis was actually born on September 4th, 1848 in Chelsea, Massachusetts. He was the fourth son to George and Rebecca Latimer. Now, his father, George, had been a slave at one time and was originally from Virginia. George escaped and went to Boston, and sadly, he was discovered by his master. Now, when he came to get George and bring him back to Virginia, the community in which George lived in rallied behind him and raised enough money to buy George's freedom. And so he and Rebecca were freedmen and living in Massachusetts. So, of course, that would have a huge impact on the young Lewis's life. Now, by the time of the Civil War, when it broke out, Lewis was only about 16 years old. He was a teenager, and he couldn't join the military because he wasn't of age yet. But he knew he had to fight in the service in order to help men and women just like his father. And of course, not everybody was as lucky as his father being able to purchase their freedom. And he wanted to get rid of slavery, and that's why he was fighting. So he actually lied about his age and joined the United States Navy. And he would remain in the Navy until the end of the war. He was very proud of his military service, and he would actually be one of the first veterans to join a Union veteran group known as the Grand Army of the Republic. And he would stay a very loyal member until his death. Now, after the war in 1865, Lewis actually got his first civilian job, and it was going to be with Crosby and Gold in Boston. Now, this was a law firm that worked with the patent office in Washington, D.C. So inventors would come to this company or to this law firm. They would get all the paperwork to make it legal, where they would get recognized for their inventions. And this is where Lewis Latimer first got his start with patent offices and law firms and be really involved in that aspect. This is also where he was able to learn how to draft, or to draw mechanical drawings that would be used as part of the patent office process and the information they would give on to Washington, D.C. So he became very skilled at that trade. Now, in November of 1873, Lewis Latimer would marry his wife, Mary Wilson, and they would end up having 2 daughters. And so they had a happy life and had a nice little family. However, they're not going to stay in the Boston area or in that Massachusetts area. They're going to move a little bit north to Connecticut, and they will end up getting a job, or Lewis specifically will end up getting a job at the United States Electrical Lighting Company. Now, Lewis ends up getting this job because the owner takes such a great interest in him. And the reason for that is because Lewis had done some inventions that really impressed the owner, and so he provided a job, said, come with us and work for me. And so Lewis had a very great job at that location. While he was there, he actually developed a filament used in light bulbs that would actually extend the life of the light bulb. So he has one of his most famous inventions is that filament used in light bulbs. And of course, he would send that information on to the patent office. By 1882, he's going to end up working for Thomas Edison, and he's going to be at the Edison Electric Lighting Company. And he really starts there for a couple of years. He's going to end up working as a draftsman, of course, remember drawing those mechanical drawings, and then also as an engineer. So a draftsman's engineer, and he's going to be working in that department for a number of years. By 1890, he will transition to the legal department in Edison's company, and he will remain there until 1911. Now in 1911, he will move, and he will go to a new patent law firm and work for a different company. So he's kind of going back to what he started with right out of the war, and working with that law firm and being able to help other inventors keep their legal aspects of their inventions within their rights. He'll work there from 1911 until 1924, where he will retire. Now, he does live a little bit after that, is very involved in various things, and one of those aspects is as the Edison pioneer. Now, there are several men as part of the Edison's pioneers, and these are men who really believe in Edison and the inventions Edison had, and they're going to promote those inventions and continue that information. So he is one of those men, a select few of those brilliant men, and he is going to be the only African American that is part of that elite group. Now, Lewis Latimer does die on December 11th, 1928 in Queens, New York. But he dies at a very good old age of the age of 80. But he has such a great impact on our lives today, and we don't even realize it. I hope you've learned a little bit about this great inventor and the things he had to overcome in order to help us in our life today. And stay tuned for more information. We're going to post some information about the Edison National Park Unit site up in Connecticut, as well as some other resources if you want to learn a little bit more about Lewis Latimer. Thank you so much, and have a great day.